Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here. Today we're looking at another classic issue of Uncanny X-Men, this time number 183. Can't wait to show it to you. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button and let's get right into it. First off, I have to say there's so many things to know. This is such a great cover. Marvel had like these weird like silk wall hangings. They were like not as big as posters. They were probably like, I don't know, like 16 by 20 or maybe 11 by 14 or something like that. But I had them and they were like silk. You could roll them up and then they were almost like banners in a way, and they were like cover replicas. And I feel like this was one of them. Does anyone remember those? They were so amazing. I hope that they're like in an attic in Ohio somewhere, but who knows? Anyway, let's get into this book. Such a great time, the height of like X-Men fever for me. 20 issues into my collecting of the X-Men, 183. I started with 163, and went from Dave Cockrum to Paul Smith, who I absolutely worshipped and loved, and then John Romita Jr., who I definitely learned to love. Interesting, like 8 issues after Paul Smith left, his art is still being used for the corner box heads over here, which has always been one of my favorite things about Marvel's covers. Like, they're very distinct head boxes. Which part of the reason is because if they were in the spinner rack, unless it's like the bottom issue, you're not seeing any of their art except from up here. So it's like you kind of want to draw as much attention to it as possible and be like, this is the X-Men. These are who are inside. This is only 60 cents. Totally worth a gamble. Anyway, beautiful cover. I love the garish covers, like colors, like so amazing. Pink and yellow totally pop. Another chance to get your attention. But could you imagine, like, I wonder how this bar fight started. It's like nice pink shirt, Ruski. Oh yeah, nice yellow pants, Juggernaut. Juggy. I mean, come on, calling somebody Juggy. I hated Kitty's hair by John Romita Jr. I thought she looked so gross, and like the printing on this is absolutely atrocious. Like, it's so smudgy and disgusting. And this is not even flexography. I don't even think so. It gets worse. Like, what happened? It looks like there's like a footprint on this. I mean, I don't think I would step on my book, would I? 182. He'll never make me cry. An adventure of the Uncanny X-Men, presented by Stan Lee and chronicled by Chris Claremont, writer, John Romita Jr. and Dan Green, artists, Tom Orzechowski, letterer, Glynis Wein, colorist, Ann Nocenti, editor, and Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. Glynis Wein is just like such a great colorist. I love how beautiful this is. Like, her and Thomas Orzechowski's letters are definitely like part and parcel, like as much of a signature of the X-Men as Chris Claremont's writing. And there's a lot of beauty to this page in a lot of ways. I mean, I love it because John Romita Jr. is definitely like such a great storyteller in a comic book, great like classic superhero artist that I love like revisiting some of this stuff and just like appreciating like the artistic level going into like this cliff here and like the sunset and just the clouds. Like, it's really pretty. And I can't miss the opportunity to say, as I always say, you know, it's like that's why it's so important to learn how to draw everything when you're a comic book artist, because you will be asked to draw anything and everything up to and including people sitting on a cliff watching the sunset. And there was such power to this art. I was just talking about this and I noticed this a lot. I feel like this usage of panels, and I don't know if Frank Miller brought it from like a European sensibility or perhaps a manga one, but like famously when he drew the Wolverine miniseries, he left spaces like this for Chris Claremont to fill in with dialogue because he knew that Chris was kind of a verbose writer. and wanted to leave room for where his art would not be covered up. And ironically, Miller's storytelling is so tight and so on point that Claremont held back using a lot of words because he felt like the art really told the story on its own. And I think that's a real like great example of give and take between a writer and an artist, and how collaborative it is in so many ways. And I feel like Paul Smith sort of brought that sensibility to the X-Men, and I think that with this type of paneling, and then John Romita Jr. followed suit. So it was kind of neat to see that progression and sort of like artists building off of each other. And I really did like appreciate the storytelling, and I feel like Romita did sort of bring in elements, Paul Smithisms, a little, just like the shine in the hair, like that's very Paul Smith right there, I feel, which made me happy because I always loved that. I have to say, and like shout out to Dan Green, like I think Dan Green is such a great unsung hero. Like I thought he did such great work with Mark Silvestri, you know, and even his old stuff, like with John Byrne and stuff, he's just like a really great inker. And he brings like just enough of himself to it, but his real strength is just like totally enhancing and just like really bringing out the best of the pencils, and just like such a great classic inker, like with his brushwork. And I mean, come on, this is the emotional, like Kitty is heartbroken over Colossus. She just had like this heart-wrenching conversation, and here she comes to be consoled by her best friend Eliana. Love that relationship so much. Boy, Rogue really went through it with the the outfits, and I guess so did everybody, but it was the 80s, so what are you gonna do? I'm a mad woman. I always love Chris Claremont, like working in the accent of the characters. Such a good storytelling. Like, it is so cool. I just love the way this panel is broken up with Wolverine, like, putting his hand on Colossus to stop him there. And then he's dragging Colossus out to the bar. Never a good idea. Especially if Juggernaut shows up, right? Raven, Darkholme, Mystique, Val Cooper. So cool. See, just like the storytelling, like, even though, like, I feel like I was up and down, or, like, you know, I feel like John Romita Jr. is definitely one of those artists that you have to appreciate, if not for, you know, he doesn't have, like, the beautiful aesthetic of, like, a Art Adams or a Paul Smith or a John Byrne or something, but his strength is just, like, such a powerful comic book storyteller. I mean, like, he can do the quiet moments, he can do the loud moments, as we're going to see in a couple of pages. I love that they're just, like, all kind of hanging out at the bar. And, like, talk about a great image right there. Like, I don't know, it's his instincts as a storyteller are just, like, so dead on. And when you look at the, like, pencils of John Romita Jr., there's always, like, notoriously, like, notes about the story as to what's going on in the panel. So it's interesting to note and just see the thought process. This is such a great... See, this is what I also love about Chris Claremont's writing, and I brought this up before. It's, like, he just does such a great job of, like, even if sometimes, like, the science is wonky or it doesn't add up or whatever, at least he makes the effort to, like, sort of entertain you as the reader and show the characters using their powers, even if it's not in the middle of combat. Like, he's sniffing them out of the crowd. And, like, you can sort of just tell that through the storytelling. And then he initiates this fight. I mean, Wolverine can kind of be a bastard sometime, right? I thought this was interesting. This looked very, like, not John Romita Jr.'s art here. Like, I don't know if somebody's coming in and like doing like little caricatures or what the story is behind this, but this is oddly standing out is not, like, I feel like these are probably based on real people, because a lot of times you'll see that in comic book art and stuff, like, you know, real people being worked into the background or crowds or anything like that. So I think there's some sort of that aspect going on. And I love Celine totally in the background. Like, this is a rough bar. Like, Juggernaut hangs out there, Celine hangs out there. And Juggernaut will not just, like, break the bar. Look how huge his hand is there. That looks like, wow, that is like 3 times bigger than his head, perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, but he just, like, picks up the whole bar. Boom! And then smashes it over Colossus. I mean, come on. That is so the best. More kind of sketchy looking caricatures there. Interesting. I want to know. Anyone know the backstory? Feel free to comment. I mean, it's almost like John Severin-esque in a way. Fun. And I just love, like, you know, because whatever, if I were an inker back in the day and, like, Zipatone, you have to, like, know when to use it properly, but, like, throwing in a screen every now and then just to give, like, different texture to the art, since the coloring and printing was obviously off. One of the best house ads ever, the Bill Sienkiewicz Power Man and Iron Fist ads right there are so cool. That's just, ironically, one of my favorite issues of Spider-Man, I think it's like 233 or something like that, is by John Romita Jr., where he fights the Juggernaut, and it is like one of the most epic issues ever, and such a great cover too, if you guys know what I'm talking about. And then he throws some money to pay for the bar. Interesting. Don't call them ex-babies anymore. Yeah, there was some, like, different things going on with the art here. I'm curious. Color me curious, but that's a really pretty face. For what Romita Jr. was doing at the time. I don't know, maybe he was particularly inspired. Love the lettering there. Such another great Bill Sienkiewicz house ad. Of course, I absolutely love Bill Sienkiewicz. Anyway, another fun issue of the X-Men. Another fun trip down memory lane. Uncanny X-Men number 183. By Chris Claremont, John Romita Jr., Dan Green, Tom Orzechowski, and Glennis Wein. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button. Share my content, and I'll bring you some more later. Thanks, guys.